So if you follow this channel, you probably associate me with a lot of expensive guitars, PRS private stocks, Gibson custom shop, and so on. But reality is that I am not only into what we would call expensive guitars. I really like affordable guitars as well, and in fact a big chunk of my collection are affordable guitars. So today I'm going to run you through my top 10 affordable guitars in my collection. So hi everyone, welcome back to the Ministry of Guitar. I'm Utkarsh Mohan, coming to you from Singapore. As always, if you like what I'm doing, like, subscribe, and particularly do share, because again, my videos aren't really designed to, they're not really playing the YouTube game too much. So I appreciate all the support that I can get. Okay, let's talk about affordable guitars. I have many thoughts. Though you may consider it slightly oxymoronic that I have a lot of expensive guitars and I have like an 80 plus guitar collection. At the same time, I do advocate that you don't really need anything more than an affordable guitar. So how do you reconcile this? I reconcile it as a difference between need and want. As far as a need is concerned, affordable guitars, affordable gear is more than good enough. As far as wants are concerned, the sky is the limit. Anything is possible. So let's talk about the 10 affordable guitars that I really like, that I do play a lot. And I'll run you through the reasons I like each of them. So I'll run through all of them one by one. And then at the end, I'm going to just give an overall commentary. Number 10. This is a Gretsch baritone. I think it's an Electromatic. I'm not that familiar with Gretsch names. It's a 30-inch baritone, or 29.75. It's made in China. It's got a Bigsby. It's in this silver, jet silver, I think it's called. It's got some substitute fretboard, and it's currently tuned to drop F. Now, why do I have this guitar? I wanted a very long scale baritone in my collection. There were not too many options. The only other option is the Squier baritone, and that one is way out of whack in terms of pricing because of, I think, a UK band called Loth, if I'm not mistaken. So, I'm not going to pay a premium just because a band plays it. So for me, this was an obvious option. I like this guitar a lot. It's something very different in the collection. The pickups are these, I think these are Gretsch style. I don't know if these are mini humbuckers or something, but they're very low output. So this thing doesn't drive the amp at all. It has a certain clarity to it, which suits the lower tunings very well, as does the long scale length. It's a very good, you'll see this theme in my affordable guitars. You'll see a lot of different guitars because often as a guitarist, you want to try out different stuff and you don't want to spend the big bucks on everything. Not that there is an option for a big bucks 29.75 inch scale baritone. So this guitar is wonderful for that. I'm going to play a little bit of, I couldn't find a recording on my Instagram of me playing this, so I just played something to demonstrate this guitar to you. You will see that these sort of guitars, these baritone guitars, suit ambient, rhythmic, almost trancey kind of music very nicely. It's a nice guitar. I highly recommend it. It's not that much. I think it's about $600 or something. I think I paid something like that. If you want something different in your collection, if you want something to expand your boundaries as a player, I highly recommend this. Guitar number 9. This is an acoustic guitar, and this is the PRS Angelus, I think 50A50E. It's the one with the maple body. Excuse me. So you'll find something very interesting. I have over 80 electric guitars, but with acoustic guitars, I have about 3. literally 3 or maybe 4. I'm saying maybe 4 because the fourth one is in a state of, well, it's just a relic at this point. So this is my main acoustic guitar. I don't play acoustic guitar enough, and I'm not fond of acoustic guitar enough to buy something expensive. I do have a Martin. I will talk about that at a different stage. It's been a very disappointing guitar. So this is my main acoustic guitar. So I knew that I need a acoustic guitar for gigs. In general, a decent acoustic guitar. And that's where the magic of PRS SE really comes in. Because again, we're talking about need here, not want. I know I need an acoustic guitar. I do play in a band. And it's good to have a good acoustic guitar around with you. So this thing fits the bill. It's very playable. Much more so than my Martin, I would say. It's got a piezo, so you can take it for gigging. In fact, this guitar has been used for gigging in some very big concerts in Singapore, not by me. But very often I'm often asked to help out if a musician needs a guitar. And there was a big comedian visiting Singapore, and I forget his name, not so much into Indian comedy. And he had a backup band, and the guitarist needed a guitar last moment. So this one was sent over, and it did a great job. And that is the essence of PRS SE, honestly. So I play this a lot. I've played this in gigs. It hangs around, and unlike the Martin, you can hang this around and nothing happens to it. The Martin, it's currently gone for repair. That something's happened to the top. Yeah, don't get me started on that guitar. That'll be a different video. But this guitar does a great job. Specs wise, the maple body is great because I really play a lot of finger picking. As an acoustic player, I'm not so much a strummer, I'm more a finger picker. So the maple kind of is very bright. And unlike electric guitars, for acoustic guitars, there is no doubt about tone wood. So let's be clear on that. The neck profile is what's called a wide fat, which I'm very familiar with playing electric PRS guitars. And yeah, overall, it's just a very nice, very usable guitar. Whenever people ask me if you want a good acoustic guitar, what do you recommend? I recommend this or one of its cousins, depending on what you want. Whether you want it to be more flashy, whether you want a smaller size. These PRS SE acoustics made in China. I don't know where they're made now, but even though this is made in China, it's a very good guitar. So yeah, that's guitar number 9. Guitar number 8 and 7, you'll be surprised because they're not here with me. They're in storage. Because, as I told you, my house was undergoing renovation, so a few guitars were shifted over. But let's talk about them. So guitar number 8 is not a PRS, not everything I own is a PRS. Is a Chapman. It's a Chapman Ghost Fret. This is the original Ghost Fret, the first run. I have to tell you something, that these Chapmans are very underrated guitars, particularly on the second-hand market. Now, I picked this thing up for $300. 300 US. Actually, less than that, 400, saying maybe 280. And for that, you have a guitar with proper maple top, Seymour Duncan pickups, because this is from the original run. Very playable, very high quality. As good as any Korean guitar, as good as a PRS SE, as good as a Schecter, as good as a ESP LTD. But for whatever reason, Chapman guitars, they had a lot of shine in the beginning, and then they lost their shine. And you shouldn't be too dissuaded by the whims of the internet. Chapman guitars are really good guitars, honestly. Particularly the early ones, particularly those that you can now get used for almost nothing. I mean, would I recommend would you spend $2,000 on a brand new made in Korea guitar, or would you just spend like $500 on a Chapman? You'll get everything you want with the Chapman. It even came with a hard case. So imagine that proper maple top, no veneer, ebony fretboard, great. I think it has stainless steel frets. I'm not sure if it does. Seymour Duncan pickups, all of that, very high quality. Slightly thin neck for my taste. All of that for like $300, $400. Maybe you'll get for $500 in the used market, probably less than that. Highly recommend it. So this is a guitar that I use for if somebody wants to borrow a guitar of me and I want them to have a good quality guitar, not a cheap one. Not that I have too many cheap guitars. I kind of give this to folks because it's not very expensive, yet it's such high quality. So it gives people a good introduction to guitar. I know that the shape is a little bit out there because it's an Explorer shape, but because it's a smaller Explorer shape, it's surprisingly ergonomic. So yeah, that's the Chapman Ghost Red. Guitar number 7, also in storage, is my Chapman Bea Baritone. So continuing the theme of non-traditional guitars in this affordable guitar lineup. Now, Rabia Masad is a monster of a player. Of all the modern players, he's definitely influenced me the most, and because he introduced me to the concept of using ambient effects with guitar, and that has created its whole different thing for me. I'm a very big fan of his, and I'm a very big fan of his former project, Tosca. And they had a couple of amazing EPs. And what I wanted to have is something similar to the gear that they use for those EPs, and this is exactly that. I know that you can get any tone with anything, but Rabia has a very specific sound. It's a little bit more trebly than I like, and it's a consequence of some of his choices, but which is why when I found this B stock Rabia Baritone, this is a Pro Series made in Korea. This is exactly the gear that was used on their EP. I basically got it and I just swapped out the bridge pickup for a war pick, which is what he uses, because I really, really like that sound. Again, I must stress that I'm not fetishizing any gear here. I'm not fetishizing any band here. It's just that I specifically like that sound. I know you can create it with other stuff as well. But since I had the opportunity, since I could get a B stock guitar at not much price, I could even get a war pick bridge pickup. So I was like, why don't I just do it? I'm not spending big bucks. I'm not buying a Murphy lab for $10,000 just to imitate that. So yeah, that's what I did it for, and I really like this guitar. It's a Tele. It's the first Tele that I think I got. No, I think I got my Rosewood Tele earlier, but it's a very nice guitar. The Tele vibe suits the baritone-ness of it, and it has a very, very specific sound because it has a mini humbucker at the neck. I think Rabia originally had a little 59 Seymour Duncan, but this one doesn't have that. It has some cheaper version that they would have developed for this one. So there's a huge volume difference between the bridge and the neck, and the in-between sounds are very interesting because of those volume differences. So that's another unique thing about this guitar. All right, that's the Rabia Baritone. Continuing the theme of baritone teles, this is guitar number 6. This is a Fender Mexico baritone Blacktop Telecaster. It is in SSH. It's got a 27-inch scale. And man, this is a very awesome guitar. I picked this up for about $800, I would say. I think these are about not much more new. But I really like this guitar. There are a few reasons. One is the sound of it. I wanted a baritone with proper single coils. So these are proper single coils. The bridge pickup, of course, is you can have a not a single coil, but in between kind of a position with it. But the single coils for a baritone sound are surprisingly useful because they go so low, so a thinner sound really helps. Secondly, as you know, you can't go wrong with a Tele. So just the way this sits on the body, just a big chunk of wood, big neck on this one, really big neck. I really like that. It's like an old shoe of a guitar, even though I'm not really a Tele player. And these honestly have really gone under the radar. I'm surprised no one has picked up on them because these are very affordable. These are the only Fender baritones because they make Squier baritones. They've never made any other Fender baritone. I don't know why. Or maybe they have, maybe I missed it. Please let me know in the comment section. And all around, it's a very high quality guitar. Honestly, I find this guitar to be higher quality than the latest USA Fenders. I've been very disappointed with the latest USA Fenders. I'll make another video about the time that I picked up an American, was it Professional? I think it was Professional Jazzmaster and Jaguar. I picked them up together. They had horrible sticky pots, and I finally fixed them, but I finally ended up selling them because I couldn't be bothered with guitars that are not great, because I have so many, so I don't have to keep the ones that are not great. But this guitar is great. I really like it. I highly recommend it. Again, very similar to what I told you with the Gretsch. This is a guitar that could unlock a different side of your playing, and for a lot of you, because you're into, most of us rather, we're into familiar guitars, this is a very easy gateway drug into baritone if you're used to teles. Highly, highly recommend this. Guitars number 5, 4, and 3 will share a common theme. They're all from a very beautiful limited run that PRS Europe made, I think about 5-6 years ago. These are the Stealths. This is the first one. This is a Holcomb, Mark Holcomb SE Stealth. Now let's talk about Stealth. Let's talk about this particular guitar. Let's talk about what I like about them in general. Stealth meant these had quilt maple veneers on top of the maple top. They had ebony fretboards, and they had this beautiful satin gray, almost greenish finish. And if you like metal, if you like dark aesthetics, these are the best looking PRS SEs out there, because they're not flashy, and yet they're very, very understated and in a very classy way. Secondly, these are satin, so you know my thoughts on satin. They're pretty good. Of course, it's not like the modern Eagle satin. This is a cheaper SE satin, but it is nonetheless a very nice satin. So again, you don't normally get SEs that are satin like this. I mean, now they have some models like the Satin CE24 SE, but this is a different case. This is like when satin becomes a premium feature almost. I really like this guitar. Let me tell you the story of this guitar. I picked it up from a shop here in Singapore. My friend Zach also, who we didn't know each other that well at that point in time, but apparently he told me later he was about to buy that guitar, but I got it first. So I think he's forgiven me. I think he's okay, because he wanted it for the satin neck. Because most of the Holcomb SEs don't have satin necks. They have gloss necks. But instead he then went and got the ebony. There's an ebony limited run, so he got that instead. This is one of those guitars that when I got it, I was like, regardless of price point, this is just one amazing guitar. It's just, I don't know, there's something about it. It was just very playable. You know, some of those guitars that you pick up and they can play anything. And I know it has got a flatter radius. That's what the Holcomb model, just for you, those of you who are not familiar. It's like a custom 24, but it has a hardtail. It has Seymour Duncan, higher output pickups, and it has a flatter radius compared to a normal custom 24. That's what makes it different. And it's longer scale length, 25.5 instead of 25. Regardless, this was just super playable, even though I'm not really into flat fretboards. So this is one of those guitars that when I got it, I didn't stop playing it for 2 days. And I don't play it too much anymore because it's kind of sitting. One of the things, I have so many nice guitars, but every time I pick this up, I'm reminded of the kind of high quality you can have for a very reasonable price point these days. This is, of course, made in Korea. This is not the new Indonesia factory. This, for me, represents the best of what the world musical instruments factory in Korea can do. It really is that good. Yeah, so that's the Holcomb Stealth. We'll move on to the next Stealth guitar. Okay, so this is another very special guitar. This is a guitar I searched for on the internet for months. Because when I heard about the Stealth series, Initially, I wasn't that interested, but then I got the next guitar that I'm going to show you in a bit. I got that guitar. And when I got that guitar, I was like, I need to complete the set because these guitars are just so good. So this one, this is the 7 SVN. It is a 7-string custom 24 with a hardtail. It's got the same stealth appointments that I talked about. It's got the satin finish, gray finish, quilt maple top. Such is life. And ebony fretboard. I have made one modification. It has these gnarly bare knuckle war pigs that I picked up on sale. I am just not a fan of the PRS 8515S pickups, particularly the 8515S7. They are terrible pickups for me. I don't like them. I really don't like the sound. So all my PRS SEs, if they have 8515s S, these only come on the SEs, they get replaced. So such is the case. This has bare knuckle aftermaths on, sorry, not aftermaths, war pigs on it. Now war pigs are a very chunky pickup. So this thing has a very chunky sound. I keep this in drop G. So that is A standard. Like think of it as 6 strings are in D standard and the bottom string is a G. And it's very, very playable. One, it is very, very articulate. And the only complaint that I have is, and this is something for you to note, the feel of the PRS SE knobs I've never liked. So I've replaced it with the core knobs, but the ports of the PRS SEs do not give you the same feel as the ports of a core. So if you really want to make it feel like a core, you need to change the ports as well, not just the knobs. So that's something I'll get around to doing at some point in time. But I really like this guitar. This is my standard drop G guitar for any drop G song that I want to play. It hangs behind me because it's also useful because it's in D standard. So I need to play a D standard song. I can just, a D standard song that is heavier, more metal-like, I can just play it. So it does get a fair bit of playtime. And I really love the way it looks. That's very important. I love the neck. I love the, side note, I love the profile of the PRS 7-string necks. They're not the thinnest out there. The really thinnest neck, if you want for a 7-string, are the original Ibanez Universe, the one from 1990 till about 1998. Those necks are so thin that they could practically break off. And on a 7-string neck, actually thinner is good because the neck is so wide to begin with. So thinner is actually good. Even if you like thick necks, thinner 7-string neck is generally good for you. PRS SE are not the thinnest necks, but it's a very nice rounded profile. It's very easy to play. It's a great gateway for those people who want to learn how to play 7-string. If you can play 6-string, this guitar will be a breeze. And I've talked separately on my channel on how to play 7-string effortlessly. All right, there we go. This was the PRS SE Stealth 7. Coming in at number 3, this is the final, or rather I would call it the first of the Stealth lineup. This is the PRS SE277 semi-hollow soap bar Stealth. That's a mouthful. Let me tell you about the guitar and let me tell you about the very unusual story. So the guitar is a SE277 baritone. 277 stands for the scale length. It's semi-hollow, so that means it's got a very different sound and it has soap bars, which you don't expect for a baritone. And it has very thick strings. I feel like these strings are like 68s or something. All of these elements combine to make this guitar get a very unique sound, a very thick sound, a very substantial sound. It's like a classical baritone guitar sound. You could use this for like, surf music. You could use this to reinforce tracks. It just occupies a certain frequency that the normal electric guitar doesn't, yet it doesn't occupy what the bass does. So it's very useful in that respect. The unusual thing about this guitar is, this is a guitar model that I bought. I liked it a lot. Then for some stupid reason during, I don't know, and it's not even that expensive. For some stupid reason, you go through these phases when you have guitars. Sometimes you buy a lot, sometimes you sell a lot. I was in a sell a lot phase, and I sold it. And I sold it for the same price I bought it, but that's not the point. It was just such a silly thing to sell because I like the guitar, and I don't know. I hadn't played it for a while. You know how you go through these phases. And then I was like, once I sold it, it was immediate regret. And I sold it when I was overseas. Basically, a friend helped me with the transaction. And the moment it was sold, I was like, what am I doing? And so I spent about a year or so looking for another one. And these are very difficult to find. And finally, one day I found it on Thomann. I don't know where it came from because it wasn't there earlier. I found a B stock. So I just bought it. Now, I don't think there's any difference between the first and the second one. Both the guitars feel actually the same. Maybe the pattern on the maple is slightly different. But the guitar is exactly what I remembered. This is why, again, back to the point on consistency. This is why another reason I like PRS guitars. PRS SE is also very consistent. And since I got a guitar, I'm not selling this. So I really like this. This is the main baritone guitar that I play after my Explorer baritone because it just gives a very different sound. This is not a metal guitar. This is more for creating layers. It's a very good recording guitar, I would say, or for something to inspire you to play something different. And of course, it's got all the stealth appointments I keep talking about. And this guitar is the reason once I got it back, then I was like, I have to complete the set. That's when the 7-string and the Holcomb kind of came in. Yeah, so there you go. This is my PRS SE 277 Stealth Semi-Hollow. Guitar number 2. We are into the top 2 now. You wouldn't expect this. What is this? This is a very common SE, but a very good one. This is the PRS SE Paul Allender, the first one. How do you know this is the first one? Because it has a rosewood fretboard instead of ebony and it has a gold hardware. I wanted this specific guitar. Let me explain to you why. I was never into, I was very much into like very retro. The first, the English music, when I first started listening to English or Western music, was basically a lot of Cliff Richard, Simon and Garfunkel, later a little bit of Elvis, a little bit of Beatles, and then maybe it went as heavy, and this is not heavy at all, it went as heavy as Pink Floyd. That was it. I went to see Phantom of the Opera, the musical. It was very good. I really liked the songs. Then I went back. This was when I was in university. When I went back, I started trying to find the music of Phantom of the Opera. When I found the music of Phantom of the Opera, I found there was Phantom of the Opera, the song by something called Nightwish. No idea what that was. So I downloaded it. This was the time when, this is pre-YouTube. This is 2005. So imagine that. There's nothing. There's nothing to see. Or maybe YouTube was there. I don't even know. You have these softwares through which you can download various things from the internet. I listened to that Phantom of the Opera by Nightwish, and I was like, it was such a beautiful song, yet it was so heavy, and the heaviness was accentuating the beauty of it. Then I was like, wow, what is this? And I found out this is symphonic metal. Then I looked for more symphonic metal, gothic metal. Then I discovered a band called Cradle of Filth. And I heard a couple of songs of theirs. Nymphetamine is one of them. There's so many. And then I discovered Dimmu Borgir, lots of different things. Point is, both the guitarist of Nightwish and the guitarist of Cradle of Filth played a purple guitar. And especially what the guitarist of Cradle of Filth played, he had this beautiful purple PRS. That's when I looked at PRS, I identified PRS for the first time. A few years later, remember I only had an Epiphone at this point in time, couldn't afford anything else. I went to the local shop to try out a PRS. They didn't let me try out the expensive ones. They let me just try out the Cradle of Filth one, luckily. This one, not this exact guitar, but this model. And compared to my Epiphone, I remember that Cradle of Filth, or rather that Paul Allender SE, was a revelation. It was so good. And that kind of, if you look at my guitar collection, you see right now there are a lot of purple PRSs, a lot of custom 24s. That really started with that whole Paul Allender thing. So as much as I'm not into hero worship, I'm not hero worshipping Paul Allender, nonetheless, that created an affinity for that particular sound and shape. So for the last few years, I've been looking for the first run with the gold hardware. This is the one I had tried with the first, because later these came in different colors. They came with EMGs. This is the first run. I was looking for one of those in a good condition at a reasonable price. I was keeping an eye out for this for probably 4 or 5 years. And remember, you don't have that many in Singapore, and some of the later runs, some are just bashed up. And I finally found one. And when I got this guitar, I was really hoping that, because I'm now so used to such expensive guitars, I was hoping that I wouldn't hate this. But I was surprised. Again, this is a PRS SE from more than 15 years, or maybe 15 years ago or something. It is just so good. It literally blows my Epiphone of the same era out of the water, as much as I love that guitar. And so, yeah, a bit of a long story here, but this guitar is indeed very significant. It's a very good lead guitar also. The sound of it is not a sweet sound. Like, you won't get a Les Paul tone out of it. It's kind of much more MIDI. Also, probably due to the pickups. I'm not sure which pickups are in these. I'll have to look it up. But it is a very nice guitar, and I really like it. And obviously, I'm not going to sell it. And this guitar is a little bit like Genesis, not the band, but Genesis the word. This is where kind of all began in terms of my PRS affinity and everything that you see behind me. So yeah, there you have it, the Paul Allender SE. Guitar number 1. The number 1 affordable guitar under $1,000, whatever, in my collection. Of course, it's a PRS SE, but that's not the point. This is a Mikael Akerfeldt of Opeth SE. The other way to think of this is the SE version of the Modern Eagle 1 single cut, which is an amazing guitar. So let's talk about this. So I just told you about my entire phase of discovering metal in university. And then after I discovered Nightwish and Cradle of Filth and Dimmu Borgir, I discovered a band that was head and shoulders above them all, which was Opeth. And the reason why it was head and shoulders above it all, in my opinion, and still remains one of my favorite bands, right up there with Pink Floyd for me, honestly, is that they were simultaneously hauntingly beautiful and hauntingly brutal. And they used to go from these beautiful passages, and it's not just about beautiful passages, the chords that they use, and I don't know what they do, the voicings. Like, there is, if you could voice melancholy, if you could voice just this want, this lack of feeling of wanting something that doesn't exist. I don't know what the word for it is, but that's why you need to listen to the music. They have that, and then they're also a heavy metal band, and not heavy for the sake of being heavy, but heavy in a way. If you haven't heard this band, 2 songs I recommend. One that is only on YouTube, not there on Spotify. Patterns in the Ivy Part 2. One which is there everywhere, but you just need to listen to it. Drapery Falls. I recommend these two songs. Drapery Falls has some heavy parts in it. You don't have to be a metalhead. And sorry, I have to recommend one more song, In My Time of Need. And the whole album, Damnation. That's not, if you won't believe, that's an album by a metal band. So I really, really like that band. Also, I really, really like the guitar. The reason you know what I like Les Pauls. I'm a single cut guy. I like tremolos. It's a tremolo. Of late, I've started liking 24 frets. It's been well documented on this channel in case you follow me. So this is the only guitar, literally the only guitar out there, which is a 24 fret single cut tremolo. There's only one more guitar that does that, which is the Santana private stock gold leaf, which is like $15,000. I've been looking for one of them, by the way. I missed out on buying one, but that's a different case. That's a different story. So I have two of these. This is the first one that I got. I got it from Anderton's, actually. And you may see something interesting attached on it. This is the new Boss system for getting the numbers that makes the guitar sound like a keyboard. And for me, I was thinking about which guitar I want to attach it on. It had to be this one because it has all the range. It has 24 frets. It has a tremolo. And it's really ergonomic. I like playing it. Doesn't modify the guitar in any way. So yeah, this is the Akerfeldt. What are the things of note? Very nice neck, white fat neck, similar to the ones I told you earlier. 24 frets, super ergonomic, super playable, all the high quality of PRS SE. And of course, then there's the whole emotional connection. But for me, more than the emotional connection is the functionality of having this guitar 24 fret single cut trem that I really, really like. Which came first? Do I like 24 fret single cut trems because of Opeth, or is it something? I don't know. Either ways, it works for me. And if you haven't tried this guitar, I highly, highly recommend it. All right, so there you have it. These are the top 10. Now, what are the themes that you would notice? Theme number 1 is non-conventional guitars. You see a lot of baritones over here. So often when you want to experiment, you do so with more affordable guitars. You don't do it with more expensive guitars. That makes sense. I'm like that. Secondly, you do see a lot more hero worship than is usual in my channel. And that's okay because these are all hero worship from a different time when I was much younger. But as I keep saying, I keep criticizing Gibson for this, I think a little bit of knowing where your interests come from in being inspired by other musicians is fine. Just don't take it to crazy lengths like when you just make a Les Paul with a different color and then you charge $20,000 for it or whatever, right? Because of some artist. I find that ridiculous. Now, these guitars, these PRS SEs, the Paul Allender, the Mikael Akerfeldt, they weren't that much more expensive. Pretty reasonably affordable guitars. And they have all very interesting specs. Like this one, as I told you earlier, has 24 fret single cut trem. In that particular case, I'm all for hero worship. You know, if you like a certain artist, it makes you like the guitar more and you can get the specs you want. Power to you. So there you have it. Do I play my affordable guitars as much as my expensive ones? Not really. Some of them I do. This one I do because it has a very specific purpose. The SE277 I showed you earlier I do. The Gretsch I do. The Acoustic I do. But where the affordable guitars are very similar to the expensive guitars, I don't. I always play the more expensive guitars because they are nicer guitars. You don't need them, but you want them. So that's what I do. Okay, I hope this was fun. I would love your thoughts as well. As always, this has been me, Utkarsh, on the Ministry of Guitar. Take care till next time.